Welcome to Horror Face Off. I'm your host, Jason. He is an institution in the world of horror, and today we break down Clive Barker films, 1987's Hellraiser versus 1992's Candyman. On today's panel, we have horror journalist Kat, your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, host of Movie Timeline Josh, horror fan Tanya, and cosplayer Chris. Welcome to Horror Face Off, everybody. I am your host Jason, and today it's all about Clive Barker, Hellraiser, and Candyman. So let me just explain a little bit about how this show works. We take two horror films, usually with a common thread, not always, and we put them against each other. We use strategic categories to break down the horror films. And then we get awesome panels full of horror fans and lovers alike to basically award a category to each film. At the end, the film with the most wins in the category section is the Horror Face-Off champion. But there's a catch. Our panelists are susceptible to death. They have an allotted time on this show. For example, it's 40 seconds. After the 40 seconds, Leighanne will kill them. And there she is with the knife. And without further ado, let's go to my maniacal mistress, Leighanne. Leighanne, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's slaughter some kids.
Nice. Okay, so that's all the rules, and we're going to begin with plot as we always do. And for this, we're going to start with Uncle Pete.
Okay, what great movies? I mean, to be choosing from Hellraiser, you got this Lamech configuration box, all this mystery. It calls these evil demons called Cenobites. You got Frank and Julia, their relationship. But then you got Candyman. You got the backstory on how he became Candyman. Helen and Cabrini Green doing all these investigations. I'm doing this, finding out this urban legend and the romance between them. I think Candyman was a little more complex and dynamic, where I enjoyed the characters, a little bit more development and everything going along with it. Candyman.
All right. I could tell you were you're into this match because you really were like racing through like great point after great point for each.
I know Leighanne gets excited. I'm like, I don't want to die on this one.
You're gonna die.
You want to start off on the right foot. All right, Kat, you're up.
Okay, so I also love both plots. Candyman is just a little bit more complex. It's a little bit more fun for me to follow than Hellraiser. I agree. There's a lot more dynamic between the characters and just the growth of Helen throughout the whole process. And then it's not that category yet, but the ending, love it. It just ties it up perfectly. It's beautiful. So definitely Candyman for me.
All right. Moving on to Tanya.
Okay, I'll start by saying I haven't watched Candyman in a long time, so rewatching it, I really liked it more than I thought I did. So this was kind of tough, but I have to go with Hellraiser on this one. I really love the Julia Frank thing. I mean, I'm a woman. I love a chick flick with a love story. And, you know, who among us women hasn't had to kill a few guys to bring our lover back from the attic floor? You know, I just love that story, and I gotta give it to Hellraiser.
All right. Just a reminder, this is on tape, so any confessions, just a heads up. All right, Josh, you ready?
Oh, no. So, sorry, I was just trying to finish this. I'll finish it later. Sorry. There's no wrong answer here. I mean, they're both right answers, but when I'm thinking about both of these movies, I lean a little bit more towards Candyman. Basically just because of the real life ramifications of this film, because not only is it telling you a horror story, but it's also giving you actual social commentary on things that were happening back then that are still happening. And it's a movie that tricks you into not thinking that it's a social political movie, because when people are talking about how political movies are nowadays, it's like, you seen Candyman? It's about as political of a movie as it can be.
Thank you, Josh. Always good
All
to
right.
kill.
All right. On the board. Leanne's on the board. All right, Chris. You've seen it. Now you kind of got the hang of it. You're up.
Man, it was a hard one. Both stories are brilliant. I'm going to have to go with Candyman, though. Usually I'm not all about revealing too much of the monster, but I love the urban setting in Chicago. And I kind of like it's that grim fairy tale with a love story sort of attached to it, but it's more psychologically damaging the story to me than Hellraiser. Hellraiser is very complex, so is Candyman, but overall Candyman just comes in as first.
All right. Okay, so we're down a round, and we are all warmed up, and now it is off to setting. For this one, we are going to start with Kat.
This one, also Candyman, because I love when she goes into his lair area and it has all the graffiti inside that apartment, and she comes out of his mouth, and it's just the paintings, the artwork, everything is just so well done and intricate and well thought out, and it's just a beautiful set, honestly, throughout the entire movie. They did so well with all the details, and I just don't really feel that passion when I watch Hellraiser. It's not as exhilarating for me.
All right. Okay. Josh.
This was the easiest. This was the easiest of the entire batch. This is Candyman. Cabrini Green is such a fascinating setting, not just for the movie, but the history of Cabrini Green in real life is equally fascinating. And the fact that the movie actually put more attention on Cabrini Green and had it the opposite effect of what the filmmakers wanted to actually put in some help there, and instead they just shut it down, and those people were kind of kicked out on the street. Crazy story, extremely fascinating, easy for Candyman. I don't think I made 40 seconds.
All right. Nice job.
34, real close.
Okay.
Denied it.
Uncle Pete.
I'm going to have to also side with Candyman on this one. Bringing up Cabrini Green, it's its own character in the film. Clive Barker never makes you feel uncomfortable in each setting, but he also makes you feel somewhat romantic. Like when they're in the parking garage and you see Candyman and Helen talking, you're hypnotized like she is. And he's in a parking garage, and it's just that whole setting and, atmosphere of being at Cabrini Green, what things were like. And then you got the coldness in the hospital. I don't feel that with the cold, just a damp house in Hellraiser. So Candyman is just beautiful.
All right. Let's see if Chris stops the bleeding for Hellraiser here. Chris, you're up.
Man, you just said it. I'm going to go with Hellraiser. Originally, I was going to say Candyman. Obviously, like you guys said, because of Cabrini Green and just the urban setting and just how run down it is, but the history with it. But with Hellraiser, I love the intimacy of the house. And the house is so depressing to look at, like the setting that, it's supposed to take place somewhere in the States, clearly in the UK, but the notion of the monster in the attic, that scares me the most. So Hellraiser.
All right. Tanya.
Okay, I like the sort of beauty and the destruction and the set with Candyman, but I'm really drawn toward movies that take place in one place. So like everything is pretty much happening in the Cotton House or whatever they refer to the house as. And I'm always more drawn to movies like that. I really like that house. I'm looking at pictures of it, and the door with the rose, the stained glass, it just like stands out to me. So I went with Hellraiser for this one as well.
All right, so we're staying close, and we're off to filmmaking. And just once again, I'll explain a little bit about filmmaking. This encompasses score, effects, cinematography, and everything all into one. And for this, we will start off with cosplay Chris.
Once again, I'm going to go with Hellraiser, Jace. And don't get me wrong, Candyman's beautiful to look at, beautiful to hear. But I think because of the success story with how hard the crew worked with Hellraiser and just what little they had in terms of effects, the cinematography is beautiful to light the Cenobites in the attic. Almost, it's like a grim cathedral.
Yeah, I just think overall, technical, it's got to go to Hellraiser for me.
All right. Okay, Josh, you're up.
This is by far the hardest one that I had to come up with the answer for. These are so close. They're both extremely well-made films. At the ending, I'm going to give it by a hair to Hellraiser, simply based upon the sheer number of practical effects that they're shooting, because using that amount of puppets and that much practical masks and all that stuff that they're doing and still making it look convincing, which it was back in 87, maybe not so much now, but it looks great. And because of that technical aspect, I'm going to give it the ever so slight edge. But I mean, these are two fine meals. They're two delicious. There we go.
All right, Kat.
Okay. So I'm not entirely sure. I love the score in Candyman. I love the score a whole lot, but I also Hellraiser had such amazing practical effects. But then Tony Todd just went ham with all those bees, and like getting stung like in real life by all those bees is just crazy, even if he did it for extra money. But the practical effects in Hellraiser, there's just so many of them and they're so well done, and I love each of them. I love that movie so much. I think it's a Valentine's Day movie 100%. So I'm going to go with Hellraiser.
All right. Okay, and Tanya, you're up.
So I have to agree with Kat on the music, the score for Candyman. I definitely like it more. It's really beautiful. But with everybody else, the practical effects, with the Cenobites, and just the visuals with Hellraiser, I'm giving Hellraiser this one as well.
Uncle Pete.
Candyman is beautiful, that overhead shot, and I love the parking garage scene, but oh my god, Hellraiser. When Frank is unmelting, and with the way the Cenobites are lit, they look terrifying. That score is hitting you. You're like right there in those dark, scary hallways. And then Julia. I wish a woman could look at me the way Julia was thinking about Frank. Oh my god, you could feel her passion just pouring out of her skin. And like whatever she was challenging, they should bottle it, because I was blown away on how passionate she was, and just whatever her direction was. It was just, I got to give it Filmmaking the Hellraiser because of all of that.
I'm telling MJ.
All right. All right, we're moving along. And next up is character. And for this one, we are going to start with Josh.
Again, very, very difficult here, because I think that whereas Candyman has potentially the most interesting character, like individual character, the surrounding cast of Candyman is not as interesting as Hellraiser. So I'm giving it to Hellraiser because you've got so many interesting people in there. Frank is interesting. Julie is interesting. The only one that's not interesting in that movie is Kirsty. Everyone else has this really cool layered backstory except your main character. But there's just so much depth that's happening. You got the whole backlog of the Cenobites, which is really cool. And ultimately, I kind of have to lean towards that.
All right.
Say my words slower.
Look at that cocky nod, eh? Someone who enjoys their work. It's beautiful. All right, Tanya, you're up.
Yes, Hellraiser for sure. Right out the gate, I'm going with Hellraiser. I love the Cenobites. I love Julia. I love Frank. I feel like I relate more to them as like real people than I did with Candyman. It just the whole dynamic between all the characters in the house. It just felt a lot more real. Even though, obviously none of this is real, but the characters in Hellraiser, definitely.
All right. Uncle Pete.
You heard what I said about Julia. I mean, I'm going to lean towards Hellraiser again. Just Frank, he's this rebel without a cause, this thing that some women find sexy, and Julia's passion for him. I even like Larry after Frank is in Larry's body. And of course, Pinhead and the Cenobites. It's just, I'm more interested in those characters. As great as Candyman is, and I'll agree with Josh about Kirsty, it's just she's the one that kind of bland for me. but everybody else, their chemistry with each other is outstanding. And then Pinhead, only 10 minutes of screen time, but he's one of the most iconic
Kill!
villains.
I got you, Pete.
Now you're taunting them. There you go. It's awesome. All right, Chris.
Hellraiser, man. And don't get me wrong, the characters in Candyman are great, well fleshed out, pun intended. But I also feel that there's just an array of characters in Hellraiser, severely flawed. You've got the broken kind of family dynamic, and then with the Cenobites giving no explanation, their backstories, but being intrigued by their designs, their physical appearance. I think it just is each end of the spectrum in terms of characters, and it's great. Obviously, whether you be a Cenobite or a human, there's a bit of everything in there for everyone. So for me, Hellraiser.
All right. And Kat.
Okay, so I'm actually going to give this one to Candyman. Because I love all the points about Hellraiser and I agree with them. But I love the relationship between Candyman and Helen. She's just so driven to find out more information about this urban legend and doesn't let anything stop her. And kind of naive a little bit, just diving into things she probably shouldn't be. But the haunting romance between her and Candyman is just, it's such a beautiful and disturbing story that I just love their characters a lot.
All right, so we're moving on to the next category, which is kills. And for this one, we will start off with Chris.
Hellraiser, man. The kills, again, in Candyman are great. More subdued, but Hellraiser. And if I may say, the reverse kill of Frank, what went into that, the effects, just how, like, guerrilla it was is brilliant. But then obviously we have the death of Frank at the end. Or Larry, Frank, whatever you want to call it. Just the visuals back then just would have been so disturbing when it first came out. So it's got to go to Hellraiser for me, man.
All right. Tanya.
Hellraiser again. There were a few cool kills in Candyman for me, where he takes the hook up through like the therapist guy. But I think a lot of the kills are kind of like off screen or more implied than with Hellraiser, which is kind of like really gory and graphic. And I mean, they're ripping people apart with chains and all the parts are hanging all over the screen. It's gory, gorgeous. So Hellraiser.
Kat, you're up.
Hellraiser, man, they just get shredded. Like, there's something about, it's awful to get a hook all the way through your body, but to be pulled into all those pieces is just intense and horrifying and grotesque, and like, they just went for it. They, no hesitation, just pulled them in pieces, no warning. So yeah, Hellraiser all the way.
Awesome. It sounded like you've had a hook all the way through your body the way you said that. It's like,
I watched that movie as a kid and I never forgot it. I think about that. I'm like, what was that one movie that I watched where the hook just went all the way through? Like, it stayed in my head all the way till adulthood.
All right. Wow. All right, Josh.
It's funny when you look at both of these because neither one has a ton of variation. I mean, like Candyman, it's all just hook through you. Hellraiser, it's like 90% hammer to the head. That's most of it. But Hellraiser has that one final kill, and it's the Jesus wept moment.
Jesus wept.
And that alone gets Hellraiser the category because that scene is amazing. And as someone that, saw it when it came out, yes, it was amazing back then. And you were like, what did I just see? That alone, that kill is the kill of most movies. It's a great one.
All right. Uncle Pete.
Yeah, I have a problem with the hook kill in Candyman because there's one little hole in his chest, but the hook is all the way through. So I don't understand the physics, how he got the hook all the way through him. So yeah, I got to go Hellraiser. You got Frank undying, and then you see pieces of his face on the floor. And I like the hammer kills because it looks vicious. Like she knocks the one guy's jaw off, and then Frank starts to absorb him. And then again, that Jesus wept. I got to copy what Josh said. That's terrifying when you're watching that as a kid when it comes out. Because here's this man, Frank's about to die by Cenobites, and he looks at Kirsty to say, Jesus wept, and he just gets pulled apart into nothing. It's just
Kill.
It's like she set you up with the line there.
You got torn apart by a Cenobite.
I want to kind of what you were saying about, like, you know, just the physics. So I'm like that in Halloween when Bob gets stabbed. It really drives me nuts because I'm like, that knife cannot support his weight, and it didn't go through him enough. And I
think someone said the knife would have had to be like 18 inches long to even get all the way through.
Exactly. So I feel you on that. All right, so we're moving on to scare factor, and for this one, we'll start off with Josh.
This one's easy, and I won't take up the whole time because it's Candyman. And you want to know how I know that it's Candyman? You know how Candyman is the movie that had the lingering scare effect other than Hellraiser? I want you right now to go find somebody and tell them and ask them, say, hey, go say Candyman 5 times in the mirror, and you tell me if they do it. You tell me if they do it, and they won't. Candyman.
All right. A dare to all you viewers out there. Tanya, have you done that before?
No, I'm not going to do that.
No?
No, you're not going to talk me into it. But I am going to give this one to Candyman as well. That real life, like you could go look in your own mirror and say that. But also the Hellraiser doesn't really scare me. It's really gory and really great, but it doesn't scare me. Candyman, there were like the real life implications of what she was doing. Like she was going to jail over all this. It was truly like this could happen scary, as opposed to Hellraiser's just like visually scary. Candyman actually made me think more and scared me more in that way. So Candyman.
All right. Uncle Pete.
I have to go Candyman because I think it's more plausible, believe it or not. Granted, it's an urban legend, but I just think, I know Hellraiser can't happen, but I can more believe Candyman can happen because it is an urban legend. And to this day, I'm 46. I won't look in the mirror and say Bloody Mary 3 times it's just because it's something that kind of sticks with you and you still have those scares. And then it's not just the physical scares in the movie. You got Cabrini Green, what it's like living back then. I'm sure it was scary for people to live back there and everything. So it's more than just like the horror scares. It's just like the scares of what life was like to live back then with no assistance, no help, and everything. So there's wider implications.
You're on a roll tonight. I like it.
All right. Cosplay Chris, you're up.
Uncle Pete, I'm sacrificing a few seconds for you. Christ, you look good for 46. I'm going to go with Candyman because of, me sleeping over at friends' houses back in the day and telling me about the urban legend of Candyman, not seeing the film, telling me, like you guys said, to go say it in the mirror 5 times and just being absolutely terrified. Hellraiser is great, but it's gory, but Candyman has that psychological scare factor for sure.
All right. And Kat.
It's Candyman because the urban legend, it just sticks with you for a long time, for life, really. I won't repeat anything in the mirror 5 times just because I don't know what's going to come out of that. There might be an urban legend that I missed. So because I won't do that, I have to say it's Candyman.
All right, so we kind of tapped into anything. Has anybody in this room right now turned off the lights and said Candyman or Bloody Mary 5 times or 10 times in their life?
I have it on a video.
You can actually watch me do it on a video.
But it's it's one of the ones it lingers even as an adult. I'll say that. Like, you could put a lot of the other ones in the toy box. That one kind of comes out every once in a while and plays with the mind. All right, so we move on to the Antagonist. This should be a fun one, and we're going to start off with Tanya.
Okay. Who is the antagonist in Hellraiser? Like, is Pinhead the bad guy? Is it Frank? Is it Julia? I mean, there's so many. I know I'm going with Pinhead. He's really iconic, but I gave this one to Candyman because I like his backstory and how it's built on in the movie, and he's more meaningful to me. So Candyman.
All right. Chris.
I totally agree with Tanya. Like, the Cenobites are great. I love the fact they don't give too much away about their backstory, but it's got to go to Candyman because it's kind of that Greek tragedy with him when he was human before he was murdered. I definitely think there's more layers with Tony Todd's performance as Candyman, not to take away from Doug Bradley or any of the other Cenobites or Frank, but it's definitely got to go to Candyman. Just more Shakespearean, I guess you could say, in terms of antagonist.
I like how Chris didn't want to hurt the feelings of the Cenobites. Giving them credit. Kat, you're up.
I'm also going to go with Candyman on this one just because I love the Cenobites. They're iconic. They're like some of my favorite horror movie characters. But Tony Todd just brought something so like amazing to that character, and all the layers of the backstory where you kind of, you feel bad for Candyman, even though he's coming out and he's doing all these awful, horrible things and taking babies and just terrible things. But you still feel bad for him because of the whole lore of his backstory, and it's just he's a great villain bad guy character.
Okay. All right, Uncle Pete.
Candyman. It's just, yeah, and Josh will get this reference. He's probably the sexiest horror villain in all of horror. He's hypnotizing. He looks at Helen saying, "Be my victim." I'm like, it's just, and again, like Kat said, you kind of root for him, even though he is the villain. You're rooting for him because, of what he went through. So, yeah, Frank is too sweaty or wet for me. So I gotta, Tony Todd, what he did with that villain is just like iconic.
All right. Well, I'm glad Josh is last because I really want to find out why he can relate to the sexiness of this set up by Uncle Pete. So, Josh, have at it.
Nah, seriously. Again, being pedantic about what an antagonist is, and like in my mind, Hellraiser is a little bit more gray area. But I do think that the true antagonist is Frank, and Pinhead is not the antagonist. If he was, it might be a closer race, but it's definitely Candyman. Like, there's no other horror villain out there that people would just commonly want to bone. I mean, it's when he does say "be my victim," you're going, I don't know. That sounds like a good idea. Or maybe, okay. And as a guy that got to hang out with Tony Todd a bunch, it's like that in real life. Like, the dude is just like, you're standing next to him going like, I don't know, would I?
Yeah.
All right. All right. So we're moving on to original movie poster. And for this one, we will start off with Uncle Pete.
The Hellraiser poster kind of tells you, okay, here's this guy holding his box. But Candyman, you got the B, the I, and it just says Candyman. So you're like, what's that about? Hellraiser, okay, it's about some demon and at some weird box. Okay, I can see this guy with pins coming out of his head. He's going to be scary. He's wearing leather bondage. Okay, you kind of know what you're going to get into. But Candyman, there's something about it, just the I, the B, and Candyman, you're like, okay, honey, sweet. And you start thinking, like, what is this about? Who is Candyman? What is the
All right. Tanya, you're up.
Well, they're both really great and they're both really iconic to this day, but I'm going to go back to the days when I would go to the video store and see the boxes sitting on the shelves, and I have to go with Hellraiser. It's scary, it's iconic. He's holding the box, and I just love that poster. I love that art. So Hellraiser.
All right. Kat.
I love the Hellraiser poster because it has the chains on the wall, but I do like the way that Pinhead's kind of like presenting the puzzle box to you, almost like a dare. It feels like I dare you to watch this movie and figure out what happens. Which is really eerie. And I do love the cover of Candyman because something about a B near an eye just like freaks me out. I don't like it. Something about eyes, man. Can't do it. but the way that the Hellraiser poster feels like a dare just makes me feel like that one's just a little bit better.
All right, Josh.
I'll break the chain here because I don't like the Hellraiser poster. I feel like it's just too like plain. It just really feels like they have him on set in the costume and just stood there, and it looks like a glamour shot. It just doesn't feel like there's any art to it and any nuance. Whereas I feel when you look at the Candyman poster, you've got these cool different aspects. You've got the eye, the reflection, the bee, the blood. There's like all these little aspects that are telling you about the story without being so blatant. And as much as I love Hellraiser, that poster just never really did anything for me. It just feels too much like all right, just stand there.
Kill.
All right, Chris.
Kat put it perfectly in regards to the Candyman poster. There's just something about a bee in your eye. Just anything to do with eyes freaks me out. But I always judge a poster by how good it will look framed, hanging on my wall. And I love the aesthetic of the Hellraiser poster. I love the blue motif with the background, with the smoke. Doug Bradley just there. Kat, like you said, I dare you, I invite you. I think also because going nostalgia-wise back to my childhood, looking at the VHS at the video store, not watching it, but thinking, what is going on here? Who is this man with pins in his head? So yeah, it's got to go to Hellraiser.
All right. Okay, so we are on to the last category of the episode, and for that, it's obviously the ending, and we will start off with Josh.
I'm going Candyman here again. Again, I think that the depth that they're having in that ending, very simplistically, because again, I feel it doesn't. Some of it requires some context in terms of Helen actually replacing Daniel as the new urban legend that's haunting the area. I think it's extremely fascinating. You've got those layers of her becoming the new story of entire Kid Green, and that is way more fascinating than the janky little optical effects that Hellraiser's giving you. Because I enjoy Hellraiser's effects, and it affects the practical stuff, but those opticals did not age as well. And Candyman still ages as well. That great little finale with her revenge.
Done.
Got you.
Love dying.
The end of Josh. All right, Kat.
I love the ending of Candyman. I think it's perfect. I think Helen looks beautiful when she comes back to like murder her husband or ex-husband or whatever he is at that point. I think it's a fantastic way to just come full circle and keep the urban legend going for even longer. Something new to fear. It's perfectly done. And the ending of Hellraiser, the fire and the guy who was eating the grasshoppers coming back. I don't know. I've had to watch it a few times to even like understand it, to be honest with you. I just love the Candyman ending a lot more.
Kill. Got you at the end, Kat.
She's rubbing it in. She kills you and then stands over you and rubs it in. All right, Tanya.
Okay, so the similarities between the endings, with how both like stories are coming full circle and right back to where they started, like the box is back in the shop and she kills Trevor and it's going to continue, the urban legend is going to continue. I thought that was really cool and something I hadn't noticed before, just how similar the endings were, like starting back over. If Hellraiser would have ended with the Jesus wept moment, that would have taken it for me, but because of the ending of Candyman, it's way more, it's way better than when Hellraiser went on to whatever happened at the end of Hellraiser. I gotta give this one to Candyman.
Kill.
Ooh,
That's
buzzer
the first
beater.
time I got killed.
That is the first time, and we love it.
But you still got killed.
Listen, we love that. Yeah, we love it on that show. Look at the smile on Leanne's face. That's worth it, all, right?
I live for it.
Your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete.
So you watch Hellraiser halfway through and pause it, and I watch it for the first time, and I say, can you guess how it's going to end? I think a fair amount of people would say, yeah, they'll probably get the demons back in the box and it'll start all over again. But I don't think many people would be able to predict that Helen became the legend. Her husband is grieving in the mirror, and he says Helen 5 times. I thought that was genius. And then she appears behind him to kill him. I did not see that coming. It was just a genius way to tie everything together that she took over as the urban legend. Hellraiser, yeah, get back in the box. Okay, starts all over again. But you didn't see the end of Candyman coming with Helen taking over that
Yeah.
urban.
Pete, are you trying to die? I felt like you could have ended like a couple of times and you just kept going.
Sorry, I
It's
get
all
Death
passionate.
and macabre.
It's all good. It's all good. Love it. All right, Chris, bring it on.
All right. I never was a fan of the ending of Hellraiser, the hokey dragon skeleton thing that zooms past them. Like you guys said, the optical effects. To me, the ending of Candyman is so underrated and people dismiss it because it's a horror movie. I'm like, no, you need to see this ending. It's so poetic. It's so good. When she kills Trevor, you know, he's kind of the douchebag at the end and he has a new girlfriend. And Virginia Madison, like you said, just looks like a badass. She's a new urban legend. The only thing I do not like is Trevor's face when he's in the bathtub and he's like all cross-eyed. That was the only thing. But apart from that, in terms of an ending, story-wise, Candyman.
Oh, that must
That
have
was
been
39
close.
seconds. That was 39 seconds. That was terrible.
Damn you,
Terrible.
Chris Stanley. All right, so we're gonna let Leighanne. Well, she's got to kind of lick her wounds on that one because I can tell how upset she was. But she's gonna tabulate things, and as we do that, I'm going to award the opinion of the match, in my opinion. And it was originally Kat with the calling Hellraiser a Valentine's Day movie. But it ended up being Kat, and it was your poster. Yeah, I know you beat yourself. Your poster explanation when you were like going into the "I dare you to watch this film." That little analogy, I kind of like really bought into that. I was like, "That's really, really cool. It's cool thought
Nice.
process." So, congrats for winning the inaugural opinion of the episode. We're gonna have to work on that name. That's disastrous, but we'll take suggestions. But yeah. So, Leighanne, are we ready?
We are.
right.
I've got to give a shout out to what started out as our final girls and guy, but the end got the girls. So we have a final guy. Chris, you made final guy. There was no death for you.
Oh,
So
yes, that's awesome.
hats off to
we
you. The
don't-
girls were going to go for you.
That's right. Did you get both of them on their last?
I did, I did.
Oh wow.
I was going to
Nice.
say final girls and guy. Now it's just final guy. Girls,
Barely.
You died though. You died. And then we had
You
our
died.
Scream Queen. You guys just wanted to die. I don't know what was going on with you and Josh and Pete, but I'm here for it. You gave me a run for my money, and I appreciate it.
Sweet death.
I
Give
like
me
that.
Cat. I died just a bit. Gotcha.
Got a death.
All right.
A death.
Let's have the winner.
So a lot of back and forth. It started off strong for one, bounced the other, back and forth, back and forth. It was a close one, but Candyman won by 3 points. A 3-point win. That's a very small win.
Yeah, it
I
was
think
it was
just speaks for
close.
these two movies. I mean, it just speaks for how great these two movies are.
It's
Yeah.
a tough one.
To
yeah.
be fair, I think that they're both Valentine movies.
Oh, okay. Listen,
I agree.
listen. Your husband's a lucky man.
Frank and Julia forever.
Yeah, no. There's an argument to be made, right? That was close. I was hoping it was going to be close, and as it was playing along, it looked like Candyman was kind of running away with it, but then Hellraiser kind of came back a little bit. A little bit shocked, but at the end of the day, no wrong opinions, right? It's just our own. So that's it for this episode of Horror Face Off. I'd like to thank the Kings of Horror community for supporting the show and watching it and loving it. Thank you, Leighanne, for killing the people that volunteered to be on the show. Thank you to our awesome panel. You gave great insight and broke it down beautifully. Next episode will be Paranormal Activity versus the Blair Witch Project on the Kings of Horror YouTube channel. We'll see you then.